Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Crow, and welcome to Classic Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Man in Black, the animated series, and it's based on the feature movie Man in Black. And this series was made in 97 to 98, and it's a bunch of short stories of what happened after the first movie or something like that. And instead of reviewing the whole box, I picked 2 episodes and just went with it. So here we go. So the first episode is called the Psychic Link Connection, the Psychic Link Syndrome. And it starts with J and K kicking in a door to a cinema. They're basically looking for an alien fugitive. And the J and K are agents of the MIB, or the Man in Black, so they are kind of investigating or try to keep the secret of aliens to the general public, because aliens are walking among us, and it's kind of a pun on the whole X-Files thing where aliens are among us and the government kind of don't want people to see it, so they kind of hush it down. Anyway, J and K kicks in the door to a cinema looking for this fugitive alien. And they get hushed by the audience because there's a movie playing, obviously. And the movie that's playing is a rip-off of the first Alien movie. And there's basically this xenomorph kind of thing that tries to attack a space marine or something. And all the audience gasp. But there's one person in the crowd that laughs. So they figure out that this is the alien, so they bring him in. And they take up these they look like pens. But it's a pen with a flash, and it's called a neuralizer. It basically wipes the memory, so they won't remember what happened. So Kay takes up this pen and he uses it and flashes it, and it says remember, it's only a movie. And then they roll the introduction credits, and then the episode starts. So basically, there's a tourist that arrives in New York, and he's taking pictures of everything, and he's talking to this cab driver, which of course is an alien. And the tourist is kind of in his face and takes his picture, and he takes his calling card, like these one of those cabs kind of calling cards, and he goes out of the car and into an elevator, and then the alien catches up with him, and he basically drains him of his life force. And this will come to play later, I guess. And later, J and K and this female agent is investigating the draining of this, or the tourist. And he's basically lost his essence, so he's just a dried up kind of corpse kind of thing. And they find his calling card on him with the cab driver. And they investigate the cab driver. And they find him, and there's a chase down, and K gets knocked down, and he gets knocked out cold. And he basically tells Jay, before he gets knocked out or after, I don't remember, but it's an Alcidian alien, which basically they're antisocial kind of thing, and they can steal essence out of people by touching them, but they don't really make connection with people and stuff. They keep to themselves, to their own groups. So by touching and knocking Kay out, the Alcidian basically gave Kay this psychic connection. So he feels whatever the other individual feels, the other one does, and pain and suffering. Whatever happens to Kay or the alien, vice versa happens. But anyway, they go to investigate this further. They lose this Alcidian, but they go to a diner where the other Alcidians are basically gonna have dinner. It's a diner, and they learn the name of this character, this other Alcidian. His name is Forbes, and he's basically antisocial, and he doesn't really socialize with the other Alcidians, and he eats human food. I think the Alcidians kind of eat this greasy kind of thing, and Kay tries it, and it tastes like Alfredo's pizza. And Jay kind of tries to, no, it doesn't taste like Alfredo's pizza. So basically what's happening is Forbes is at Alfredo's Pizza eating pizza, so Kay kind of feels, or the taste sensation of that kind of pizza. And so basically what happens throughout this story is, I'm not going to go into details, but they try to catch Forbes. Forbes escapes, and they kind of on and off, and Forbes gets flashed by lightning because, or flash lightning from cameras and stuff. He basically thinks that by getting flashed by a camera, they steal his essence. So he gets angry, and he doesn't really understand it. He's not taking their essence, just taking their picture, or his picture. And he's kind of a shapeshifter, so they just take photos of him like looking like a human being, but when he transforms and takes essence, he becomes this terrible beast-looking thing. And anyway, they follow him, and he causes fires, and because he knocks a guy down and burns down his photo studio just for taking a photo, and one thing leads to the other, and there's a standoff between there's a female agent in between Forbes and Kay at the end, and Jay kind of saves the day by using a flash of lightning from a photo camera from a photo camera. That's the thing. And he knocks them out, and they take him in, and it ends with Jay and Kay at the same Alcidian diner, but instead of eating the Alcidian food, they have it's called a tuna melt. That's what it's called. It's basically a tuna sandwich. So they're eating that, and they're just saying no to the Alcidian food, and meanwhile they are Forbes is at this mental institution. He's having in a straitjacket, and they are showing him this Rorschach test, which is basically like one of those fold-up pictures. You print one thing on the other side, and you fold them up, and it becomes like a butterfly or something. What do you see, Forbes? What do you see in these pictures? A tuna melt. It's basically a tuna melt. And so the second episode, the Take No Prisoner Syndrome. So the episode starts with at the MIB headquarters, and there's a blazing alarm. It's a cold blue, and the alarm is basically coming from the kitchen. So they rush in and check what's going on, and there are these aliens that are called worms, and they're basically small alien like creature. They look like worms a bit, but they have hands, and they have this obsession for coffee. And the reason for them to turn to basically sound off the alarm was that the coffee is gone. And this upset the MIB boss, said, and he tells Jay to take these clowns down to the supply quadrant to basically get them some coffee. And so Jay basically takes the worms down to the supply quadrant to get some coffee. And he has to, prove that he's Jay, so he has these scanning cards, and he scans it to another operative standing there. And Jay asks, okay, what else is there in this supply quadrant? Only weapons of mass destruction. Have a nice day. And Jay goes like, oh, okay, sure. And they go to this supply airlock supply room where they're supposed to get their coffee. And meanwhile, when this is happening, topside at the MIB headquarters, there is a gas attack, and these synths, kind of mechanical robots, are trying to take over. And they use this gas on the MIB personnel and the aliens there to kind of stun them and put them in sort of a freeze state, a stasis. And cutting back to Jay down there in the pantry, I guess you could call it. And he's not affected by this because he's not out on the floor. And so basically what's happening is all of the MIB personnel is in stasis, all except for Kay and Zed. And they get confronted by this clone of a prisoner called Lupo. The original Lupo is locked in a cage at MIB, so they try to break him free basically, and he's used a clone of himself to try to accomplish this. And that's basically what's happening. And Jay kind of figures out that something is wrong because the guard that's guarding the door to the pantry, he basically doesn't respond to him. So he tries to shoot the door open with this little tiny gun. There's no scratch on the door, but the back of the wall kind of breaks out, and they kind of get out of there. And meanwhile, while this is happening, the synths kind of figures out that Jay's not affected by the stasis, and they try to go after him, but they don't really know who Jay is. They just know that he's some guy, I guess. And and Jay kind of sees one of the synths when they're returning to topside to help Sed and Kay, and they act like they're in stasis, standing still. And one of the worms gets, I guess, the worst side of him, kind of, because they're addicted to coffee, so he basically smells like fresh Java coffee, and he goes for it, and the synths kind of see him, and they knock the worms away, and they knock Jay around, and he falls on the floor, and he uses a mug on the floor to basically throw it on an alien hanging from the ceiling, which is also in status, because it has these sharp horns or something, and he hits it with the mug, and it falls down and cleaves the synthoid robot in half or something. It's really kind of stupid. And then the clone of Lupo basically tells Jay that he better come up to Sed's office, or otherwise Kay and Sed will basically kill him. So Jay is kind of smart. He kind of sends in one of the worms to scope it out, and he does this by he bribes them by with coffee. He says that Sed has the best coffee because he's the boss. You can drink the coffee, just go in there and basically give me information or something like that. So they send in a worm, and the worm says that I'm Jay, and there's a discussion, and basically the worms take turns in feeding Jay information. They get in and out through a ventilation shaft, and they drink coffee. And and then Kay and Sed fights Lupo and his Lupo's clone and his synthoids in the office. And outside there is a synthoid mask that's Kay, and he confronts Jay about it. And Jay tells something of a joke, and Kay laughs. But the one thing is, Kay is such a stale agent in the first place, so Jay figures out that by the synthoid laughing, he discovers that, okay, this is not Kay, and he takes him out. And meanwhile this is happening, the prisoners, the real Lupo and the other prisoners are escaping, and Sed kind of tells Lupo's clone that he's done for now, because there's no reason to have a clone when the original is set out and free. And so Jay arrives at Sed's office and says that it's done, he's taking care of Jay. But he's disguised as Kay with the synthoid mask, and he throws Lupo's clone out the window. And Lupo's clone falls to the floor, and the real Lupo comes up and basically finish him up, or he thinks he's finishing him up. And then the other guys, the rest of the people that it's left at MIB, J and K, and the worms, I guess, they gear up to fight these criminals. So they gear up and go down fighting them. They use their abilities against these alien criminals, and they fight. And basically Jay thinks he's finished because the real Lupo is holding a gun at him. And then the fake clone Lupo kind of swoops in. It's been cleaved by half of his body's cleaved up, but he can still walk, and he kind of shoots the other guy down, and now it's your time to die or something. And then the gun clicks. Well, you're not going anywhere. And they basically put them away, both the clone and the original. And meanwhile, the worms have gone access to Sed's office, and they're drinking his luxurious coffee, and Sed kind of bangs on the door like, "Worms, if you don't open, you will feel my wrath," or something like that. And that's the end of that episode. So the only reason I remember this, because it was so stupid, the only reason I picked up this box back in the day, because I liked the whole quirkiness of the Man in Black and all that. But this box And this is the one reason, like, look at this. This is actually how they're portraying the aliens, and this is supposed to be Will Smith. And it's like, no. And on the backside, this kind of, that's what the worms kind of look like. But these aliens look like a fourth grader drew them or something. Like, the actual quality of the episodes they're watching are, again, they're kind of good. They're kind of in the same quality as The Mask, the animated series. But there was some other guy that kind of, even we need a cover for this DVD box, and you have to some random intern or something draw this kind of on the spot. Okay, this looks like Will Smith, right? Ship this out, is fine. No one will notice, or something like that. I don't know. But you know, can I recommend this? Absolutely not. It's terrible. It's just I guess a cash grab on the whole series as a whole. But you know, it's just a fun thing. Anyway, I hope you like this, and well, take care.